Ladies and gentlemen, stop scrolling because what just happened inside that courtroom didn't just shake the walls. It blew the roof clean off. We're talking about a federal-level explosion. Cameras flashing, jaws dropping, and people running outside like it was the season finale of a Netflix crime drama. And the star of the show? None other than Chicago's very own Lil Durk, that's right. Just when you thought the chaos couldn't get any wilder, boom, the FBI drops a bombshell, leaks hit the streets, and suddenly everyone's asking the same question. Did Durk just get betrayed by his own blood? Think about it. We've seen rappers beef, we've seen crews split, we've even seen betrayals over money, but this is something different. We're talking courtroom eruptions, secret FBI evidence spilling like mixtapes, and whispers of family members turning into informants. Bloodlines breaking on federal paper, and the wildest part? This isn't just speculation, this is being dissected in real time. From TikTok reactors pausing every audio clip to Reddit detectives drawing red string maps like it's a crime documentary. So buckle up, because what just went down isn't just a trial. It's a betrayal saga written in capital letters. The courtroom air was heavy, almost suffocating, like everyone inside knew they were about to witness history unravel in real time. And there he was, Lil Durk, sitting stiff, eyes locked forward, not moving a muscle as the prosecutor rose with that smug half-smile lawyers always get when they know they're about to ruin someone's life. The crowd leaned in. Reporters gripped their pens like weapons. And then boom, the folder slammed on the table. Inside, not just transcripts, not just wiretap summaries. No, this was labeled confidential internal FBI surveillance. Gasps echoed like echoes in a cave. You could feel the ripple move across the room, row by row, as if everyone's spine got hit with the same chill. Because this wasn't a minor charge upgrade. This wasn't some old probation violation they dug up. This was brand new, nuclear-level evidence that could blow apart not just Durk's case, but his entire empire. And then came the dagger. A voice recording. The FBI agent pressed play, and static filled the speakers. Muffled chatter. Chairs creaked. For a moment, nothing. And then clear as day, a voice that too many people in the room recognized. Not an op, not a rival, not some random associate caught slipping. No, it was someone who had been seen by Durk's side in photos, in videos, in family gatherings. His own blood. A betrayal so personal, so brutal, that the moment the clip played, murmurs erupted like a volcano finally blowing its top. The prosecutor let it run. Start with him, the voice said, almost casual. He'd been moving different since Von dropped. And in that instant, the courtroom wasn't silent anymore. It erupted. Spectators shouting, reporters rushing out, family members shaking their heads in disbelief. One woman sobbed uncontrollably. Another man yelled, "This ain't right." The judge banged the gavel so hard it nearly cracked. Order, order, but there was no order left. The damage had already detonated. Think about this for a second. We're not talking about some stranger turning state's evidence. We're not talking about a gang member cutting a deal. We're talking about a brother, a man bound by blood, sitting there on a leaked tape, allegedly plotting, whispering, betraying. And when the prosecutor paused the audio and said, "This voice has been preliminarily identified as a member of the defendant's immediate family," you could practically hear the world outside start spinning faster. Because this isn't just gossip anymore. This isn't just blog talk or Twitter threads. This is the FBI in court, dropping bombs in front of flashing cameras and open mics. And as if that wasn't enough, the leaks had already started spreading online before court was even adjourned. Within minutes, Twitter was lit up with hashtags. Fan pages were dissecting the clip, YouTube channels already queuing up their next upload with titles like, "Durk betrayed by his own brother?" And FBI just exposed OTF's deepest secret. And guess what? Nobody was denying it. Not the feds. Not the defense. Not even Durk. His silence in that moment sitting stone-faced as the audio played, said more than 1,000 tweets ever could. But here's where it gets even darker. Because when the audio ended, the prosecutor leaned in, adjusted his tie, and hit the room with a line straight out of a mob movie. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the only recording in our possession." Boom! Another explosion. People gasped again. Whispers flew across the benches. If that was the first tape, what's on the second? And the third? And how deep does this betrayal go? Reporters scrambled to update their headlines. Fans outside were chanting, some screaming, "Free Durk," while others shouted, "He knew." The divide was instant. Half the world wanted him protected, the other half convinced this was karma catching up. And in the middle of all of it, his mother, sitting quietly with her hands clasped tight, refusing to look at anyone, her silence louder than the entire crowd's chaos combined. Meanwhile, anonymous insiders started feeding blogs with juicy details. One so-called source close to the investigation told a gossip site, "The FBI's been building this for years. What you saw today, that's just the tip of the iceberg. They've got phone calls, money trails, even coded texts." Another claimed, "It's not just Durk's freedom at stake, it's his label, his endorsements, his entire future." And whether those sources were real or not didn't matter. The internet ate it up like candy on Halloween. Reddit threads blew up overnight. Some users were breaking down the audio waveforms, matching them to old interview clips of Durk's brother. Others were pulling up old Instagram posts, captioning them with, "We should have known." One comment with thousands of upvotes read, "Blood don't mean loyalty. This right here proves it." Another, "Von died, and now Durk's about to go down the same way, betrayed from within." And let's not forget the TikTok detectives. Within an hour, there were side-by-side comparisons of the leaked voice with past live streams. People slowed down the audio, pitched it up, pitched it down, all trying to prove the unprovable. But the narrative was already cemented. The world had decided this was real. And once the streets decide, facts barely matter. Now imagine being in Durk's position. You're already fighting a murder-for-hire trial, bond denied, pressure mounting, the feds circling like vultures. And now, in front of the entire world, the people you trusted most are painted as traitors. The one person you thought would never cross you is the one allegedly feeding your enemies. That's not just betrayal. That's annihilation. And what did Durk do? Nothing. No outburst. No denial. Just sat there, staring straight ahead, face locked in stone. His lawyers whispered frantically. The judge demanded order. The prosecutor smirked like a man who just won the lottery. And Durk? Silent. That silence was deafening, like the calm before the biggest storm Chicago rap has ever seen. Outside, the chaos only grew. Fans packed the streets, holding signs, chanting. Media vans lined the block. Helicopters hovered overhead, cameras zooming in on every expression, every step, every word. And then came the statement from King Von's mother. Through tears, through grief, she told a local reporter, "I knew it. I always knew it was someone close." That quote spread like wildfire. Retweeted, reposted, rehashed until it was burned into the collective memory of the internet. Think about the weight of those words. A grieving mother, losing her son to street violence, now watching her son's closest ally get betrayed by his own family. That's not just news. That's Shakespearean tragedy playing out in real time. And the feds? They're loving it. They don't need to say a word. Their silence screams louder than any press conference. Because when the FBI leaks evidence like mixtapes, when they drop surveillance tapes mid-trial, you already know they're sitting on more ammo. The first tape rattled cages. The second one burned the zoo down. And if a third exists, it could level the entire city. But here's the thing. As dramatic as this all sounds, the real question is, how long has this betrayal been brewing? Was this months in the making? Years? Did Von's death light the fuse, or was the fuse lit long before? People are digging, pulling up every old interview, every awkward pause, every suspicious caption. "I trust God," Durk once said when asked who he trusts most. And now fans are connecting the dots, saying maybe he knew all along. And while the internet debates, the courtroom war continues. The judge ordered a recess, banging the gavel like a man desperate to hold on to order. The lawyers gathered their papers. Reporters ran outside to update their live feeds, and Durk? Still silent, still stone-faced, as if carrying the weight of betrayal on his shoulders like a cross dot as the crowd filed out. Whispers lingered in the air. "He's done. Nah, he'll beat it. That was his brother." You could hear it clear as day. Man, they setting him up. The divide was sharp, the tension thicker than smoke. Everyone had an opinion, and nobody was willing to back down. But the real storm was yet to come. Because if the prosecutor was telling the truth, if there really are more tapes waiting in some FBI vault, then this trial isn't just about Durk's freedom. It's about exposing an entire empire from the inside out. And that's when the bombshell dropped. Just as the recess was called, just as Durk was being escorted out under heavy guard, a journalist shouted the question everyone wanted to ask. "Durk, did your brother betray you?" For the first time all day, he looked up. His eyes locked on the cameras. And though he didn't say a word, that look alone, cold, hollow, furious, was enough to send the internet into a frenzy. The clip went viral instantly. Screenshots plastered across Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. "The look of a man betrayed," one caption read. "That's not anger, that's pain," said another. And the theories multiplied. If Durk's silence was the first sign, that look was the second. He knew who flipped. And the world knew he knew. But here's the kicker, this was only day one. The prosecutor promised more evidence, more recordings, more betrayals to come. And if this was the opening act, what comes next could be catastrophic, because the next tape, that's where everything could fall apart completely. The next tape, that's where everything could fall apart completely. Because according to whispers from inside the courthouse, the second tape doesn't just feature vague threats or background chatter. No, this one allegedly contains names. Full names, government IDs, even street-level nicknames that only someone inside the circle would know. And the kicker? Those names line up directly with individuals tied to ongoing investigations. That's right, this isn't just family betrayal. This is potential evidence connecting Durk's empire to a web of street politics, financial trails, and blood debts that go back years. When word of the second tape leaked outside, chaos erupted all over again. Fans who had been chanting for Durk's release started backing away. Some deleted their free Durk tweets. Others doubled down, claiming the system was rigged, that the feds were manipulating evidence to destroy another black artist making it out of the trenches. And then came the conspiracy theories. Some claimed the tapes were AI-generated. Others swore rival crews had infiltrated the FBI. By midnight, TikTok was flooded with videos showing forensic comparisons of Durk's brother's voice against random old livestream clips, slowed down, sped up, filtered through every app you can imagine. And you know what? The resemblance was undeniable. But inside the industry, the whispers were even louder. A so-called anonymous label executive told one podcast, "This is bigger than just Durk. If the feds have tapes like this, then trust me, other rappers should be worried. They're not just going after one man. They're trying to dismantle an entire movement." Another insider claimed Durk's label, OTF, had already started purging its staff. Phones were wiped, laptops seized, accounts deactivated. And in the middle of it all, Durk's cousin unfollowed everyone tied to the label, posting that infamous cryptic line, "It'd always be the one smiling next to you." Meanwhile, King Von's mother continued to pour gasoline on the fire. She released another statement through a family rep, This time directed not just at Durk, but at the entire system. I lost my son, and now I see the truth. The betrayal wasn't from enemies in the street. It was from the ones sitting at the table. I've been screaming for years that Von didn't just die from street beef. Somebody close wanted him gone. That quote hit like a bullet to the chest. Blogs, YouTubers, even mainstream news outlets ran with it. The narrative was no longer about whether Durk was guilty of the charges. The story had evolved into something bigger. An empire built on loyalty crumbling because loyalty never really existed. And the fans? They were split right down the middle. Some swore Von's mother was finally being vindicated. Others accused her of exploiting her son's death to fuel the Fed's case. Instagram comments turned into full-on war zones. One side posting "Protect Durk at all costs," the other side replying with snake emojis and the words he knew. But the biggest shock came late. That night when a Chicago-based blogger leaked a sealed court document. Inside was a list of cooperating parties tied to the case. At the bottom, a chilling line. Suspected family betrayal verified through confidential surveillance. Confirmed as cooperating party number 3. The internet exploded. Who was party number 3? Was it the same brother already linked to the first tape? Or was there another family member involved? For days, Reddit threads spun entire webs of conspiracy. Some claimed it was a cousin. Others pointed at a longtime childhood friend considered family. The theories spread like wildfire, and the feds didn't deny a single one. Now, let's not forget, Durk himself remained silent through all of this. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no public statements. The only thing he left up was that black screen post. "I gave love where I should have gave distance." Fans clung to those words like scripture. Some said it confirmed the betrayal. Others argued it was a coded message to his enemies. But the silence, just like in court, was louder than any denial could have been. Meanwhile, the streets of Chicago buzzed with paranoia. Crews were tightening their circles, phones were going dark, and whispers of more indictments were spreading like rumors in a high school hallway. Promoters began canceling shows, citing security risks. One Atlanta venue reportedly pulled out of an OTF event less than 48 hours before the doors were supposed to open. The promoter told a local station, "We ain't trying to be in the middle of a federal case. Too hot right now." And the dominoes didn't stop falling there. 2 staffers connected to Durk's label were quietly let go, their social media accounts deleted overnight. When fans noticed, speculation went into overdrive. Were they informants too? Did they know about the tapes? Nobody had answers, but everyone had opinions. DJ Academics, of course, couldn't resist. He went live for nearly an hour, pacing around his studio with a glass of Hennessy, breaking it all down like he was solving the Zodiac case. "This might be the worst internal betrayal in hip-hop history," he declared. "If this is true, if Durk's brother flipped on him, then this is bigger than Tekashi, bigger than anything. We talking about your own family putting the knife in your back. That's next level." His live stream racked up hundreds of thousands of views in hours, fueling the fire even more. But then came the moment that made even the hardest skeptics pause. A second clip leaked online. Not the full courtroom version, but an extended cut supposedly taken from the FBI's files. In this one, after the line, "He moving like Von used to," came another voice, calm, younger, deadly serious, saying, "I ain't letting that happen again." Not to me. The internet froze. Was this proof that someone in Durk's family knew how Von got taken out and stayed quiet? Worse, were they using that knowledge to justify flipping on Durk himself? The reaction was immediate. TikTok lip syncs of the betrayal line hit millions of views. YouTube reactors played the audio over and over, their shocked faces plastered across thumbnails. Twitter spaces filled with thousands debating whether this was the final nail in the coffin for Durk. And in the middle of it all, Von's mother tweeted just 7 words. "Now y'all see what I've been screaming." Those words alone reignited the Storm, Durk's legal team scrambled behind the scenes. They requested a 72-hour delay in the proceedings, citing sensitive new evidence that needed to be reviewed. The judge granted it, but the damage was already done. By then, the story had taken on a life of its own. Bloggers were calling it the Chicago betrayal case. Fans were tagging it as the family snake saga. Even mainstream outlets like CNN and the New York Times ran headlines, framing it as part of a broader discussion about loyalty, fame, and federal surveillance in hip-hop. And yet, through it all, Durk kept his mouth shut. Not a single denial. Not a single lawsuit against the outlets running the leaks. Nothing. And in this game, silence speaks volumes. So here we are. One courtroom outburst, 2 leaked tapes, and a grieving mother screaming betrayal. Durk's team is on lockdown, his label is cracking under pressure, and the FBI is sitting quietly like a poker player holding pocket aces. The world's watching, the fans are divided, and the enemies? They're probably celebrating. Asterisk, but if you thought this was the climax, you'd be dead wrong. Because the whispers are growing louder, the leaks keep dropping, and the third tape? That's the one everyone's afraid of. Because word on the street is that it doesn't just expose betrayal. It names names. High-profile names. And if that tape surfaces, it won't just be Durk's family facing exposure, it'll be the entire drill scene on trial. And when that happens, the courtroom won't just erupt. It'll collapse. That's the word people kept whispering, and the fear was real. If the third tape was as explosive as the rumors suggested, this wasn't just about Lil Durk fighting for his freedom anymore. This was about the collapse of an entire movement, an entire culture being dragged into the federal spotlight like ants under a magnifying glass. And the feds? They were grinning behind closed doors, because when you've got the streets buzzing, the blogs screaming, and the fans dividing, you've already won half the battle. Late-night news shows couldn't get enough of it. Anchors who couldn't tell a mixtape from a microphone were suddenly talking about the betrayal heard around the world. Pundits sat in neat little squares on TV screens, debating loyalty, crime, and hip-hop like they'd been studying drill lyrics their whole lives. What we're witnessing here, one analyst said, is a federal takedown disguised as a family feud. Another added, if the allegations are true, this would mark the first time a high-profile rapper's own blood directly contributed to his downfall in open court. The soundbites were brutal, the speculation endless. Meanwhile, the streets turned colder. Instagram accounts connected to OTF went dark. Longtime affiliates stopped showing their faces at public events. Promoters quietly canceled shows across Chicago and Atlanta, citing unforeseen circumstances. Even DJs stopped spinning Durk's tracks in certain clubs, afraid the crowd would turn violent the moment his voice came through the speakers. And through all of it, Durk himself? Silent. Not a single live stream. Not a single post. Just silence so thick it felt like the calm before a hurricane. But then came the alleged leak that shifted everything. A Chicago blogger, the same one who posted the cooperating witness list, claimed to have access to the beginnings of the third tape. No audio this time, just a typed transcript. And what it supposedly contained was nuclear. Names of industry figures, mentions of rival rappers, even coded references to club owners and promoters who, according to the transcript, were too loud, too risky. If true, it wasn't just Durk's family betrayal anymore. It was a map of an entire underground economy built on fear, violence, and silence. The internet erupted. Some believed it instantly. Others called it fake. But in the gossip economy, truth doesn't matter, narratives do. And this narrative was too juicy to let go. Within hours, hashtags like #ThirdTape and #DURK exposed again trended globally. TikTok creators acted out dramatic readings of the transcript. YouTube reactors debated whether the FBI intentionally leaked it to pressure Durk into cooperation. And Reddit? Forget about it. Entire forums turned into war zones of speculation, with users creating flowcharts, timelines, even mock trial strategies to prove who the mole really was. And through the noise came another voice, King Von's mother. This time, not just in a written statement, but in a live Instagram video. Tearful, angry, but determined, she said, "I lost my son to the streets. Now I see that the same people who claimed to love him were playing both sides. If this third tape is real, I want the world to know it ain't over. It will never be over." That livestream was clipped, reposted, and shared millions of times within hours. Fans called her the truth teller. Critics called her delusional. But either way, her words carried weight. Because grief mixed with betrayal doesn't fade, it festers. Meanwhile, rumors swirled that Durk was preparing to break his silence. Not a tweet, not an Instagram caption, but a full-blown press conference. Word on the street was that his team had booked a venue, drawn up NDAs for invited journalists, and prepared a statement that could shake the industry to its core. Insiders whispered that Durk was ready to name names, yes, even family names. And if true, that meant the bond of blood had been shattered beyond repair. Imagine the spectacle. Durk standing at a podium, cameras flashing, his lawyers flanking him, and the world waiting to see if he'd throw his own blood under the bus just to save himself. For a man whose career was built on loyalty, that would be the ultimate irony. Fans debated endlessly. Would he really do it? Could he survive the streets if he did? Or was this just another smokescreen, a distraction while his legal team fought behind closed doors? At the same time, watchdog groups started poking holes in the FBI's game. Civil rights organizations demanded answers about how such sensitive evidence kept leaking into the public sphere. One spokesperson declared, either the FBI has lost control of their files, or they're deliberately weaponizing leaks to shape public opinion. Think about that. Was the Bureau playing the streets like a violin, orchestrating chaos to break Durk's silence? If so, it was working. Because every leak made the pressure heavier. Every whisper turned the screws tighter. Then came the financial fallout. Brands quietly pulled away from Durk. A sneaker collab that had been teased for months suddenly disappeared from websites. A beverage company deleted all traces of his promotional campaign. Even Spotify playlists that once had his tracks front and center quietly shuffled them further down. The industry was hedging its bets, preparing for the worst, distancing themselves before the tidal wave hit. And fans noticed. Screenshots flew across Twitter with captions like, "They turning on him already." Another read, "When the money dries up, loyalty dies too." But let's not sugarcoat it, the fans weren't loyal either. Half of them flipped overnight, trading snake emojis for free Durk hashtags, depending on which way the wind blew. TikTok edits portraying him as a fallen king got millions of views. Memes mocking his silence racked up just as many. And every time a new clip or rumor dropped, the internet reset, starting the cycle all over again. Outrage, debate, division, repeat. So where does this leave Durk? In the middle of a storm with no umbrella, caught between two impossible choices. Testify against his own blood and face the wrath of the streets. Stay silent and risk the hammer of the federal government crashing down on him. Either way, he loses. And maybe that's the real tragedy here, not just the betrayal, not just the tapes, but the death trap of choices designed to destroy him no matter what he does. The courtroom clock ticks louder. The prosecutors smirk wider. And the world leans in closer, waiting for the next twist. Because one thing's for sure, this story isn't ending anytime soon. And if the third tape really exists, it won't just take down Lil Durk. It could burn the entire house down, leaving nothing but ashes where loyalty once stood. So buckle up, because the collapse? It's not coming. It's already here. So here we are. One rapper, one courtroom, one family betrayal that just flipped the entire game on its head. We've seen scandals before, We've seen leaks before, but never like this. Never with the FBI dropping tapes like mixtapes and families turning into federal evidence overnight. The question is no longer if Lil Durk can survive this storm, it's whether anyone in his circle can walk out untouched. And now I've got to ask you, what do you believe? Do you really think his brother flipped? Was it loyalty traded for safety? Was it fear? Was it greed? Or has this betrayal been brewing for years, just waiting for the right moment to explode? And what about Von's mother? Has she finally been vindicated after years of suspicion? Or is this just another chapter in a never-ending tragedy? Picture this: a man caught between silence and survival. Testify and risk the streets. Stay silent and risk the feds. What would you do in his shoes? Could you cut off your own blood to save yourself? Or would you let it all burn just to keep the code alive? These aren't just legal questions. These are legacy questions, loyalty questions, life and death questions. But one thing's certain, the world is watching. Every post, every clip, every leak is shaping the story in real time. And you, yes, you are part of it. So don't just scroll past this moment. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you ride for Durk? Do you side with Von's mom? Or do you think this is all just a federal chess game designed to break another king? Hit that like button if you're tired of snakes smiling in family photos. Subscribe if you want the real tea the industry praise will stop serving. And share this with someone who still believes blood makes you family. Because as we've just seen, sometimes blood is the very thing that cuts the deepest. Sometimes blood is the very thing that cuts the deepest.